families of victims here today. Have you apologized to the victims? Would you like to do so now? Well, they're here. You're on national television.
How many more of my friends have to be harmed, abused, extorted, or taken advantage of, killed, or forced into taking their own life until these companies decide to act? We are only getting started. This is not the last time you will hear from us.
I was at Dick Durbin's Senate hearing about teen safety. Terribly sad moment where the parents are all holding pictures of their children that committed suicide. That seems to have driven some bipartisan consensus to do something.
Social media, I think, maybe started with good intentions, or at least not terrible intentions. But over time, it has become clear, for example, that it polarizes people radically because we have this attention economy.
It doesn't feel good to admit this, but I legitimately don't have the attention span anymore for TV or movies. Like, I'll put something on and I think I'm going to enjoy it, and then the next thing I know, I'm not enjoying it because I'm just looking at my phone.
And it may not seem like as big of a deal when like the task you're trying to accomplish is watching TV, but like when you're in like class or you're doing work and you constantly just need that dopamine hit of a TikTok video or something, it gets really distracting, and it just gets in the way of doing like an everyday task that shouldn't require you to get on your phone every 5 minutes.
So one follow-up question I really have, and I think a lot of us are interested in, is the role that big tech companies play in the creation and the mitigation of this crisis. So I turn to both of you, specifically I'll start with Scott, to ask, what can we do as civil society to change the behaviors of these tech companies producing these corrosive, algorithms and damaging young people's mental health?
In my view, it's not that complicated. Any algorithmically elevated content should remove or not be subject to 230 protection.
Phone-free schools is the simplest, quickest thing we can do. We can do it almost everywhere by September. All schools should go phone-free.
And to Scott's point, I was one of the individuals that testified in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. And, I will say I was disheartened that more action has not been taken since young people have repeatedly stood up, told their stories, and expected change. So we really are looking for all stakeholders in this conversation to, mobilize, and like you said, to work collectively to solve this issue as rapidly as possible, because the next generation is going to come and this is going to happen exactly again, but with worse content.
I'm Stephen Rosenbaum, and I want to talk for a moment about Scott Galloway's last slide that caught all of our breath. He asked the question, do we love our children? It was rhetorical, but I think we have to talk about what that means in the face of social media today. We're all facing this machine that is coming at us night and day and tearing at the very fabric of our democracy and our society. If you read the words of Surgeon General Vivek Murthy or Jonathan Haidt, or talk to the 25 young people that work on my board of advisors, you hear the same thing for all of them. They're scared and they don't know what to do. Together, we have the opportunity to make real change.
Some people, TikTok, that's where they learn everything about the world and news and everything. What was the view of Joe Biden and Donald Trump until, July 21st?
Yeah, I think it was largely disillusioned. I think people knew that, Donald Trump has his problems, but I think there was this sense that we weren't really heard in the conversation because Joe Biden really had no means of communicating with the younger generation through social media.
This is one of the absolute white whales of policy challenges and pickets in Washington, D.C. The D.C. is molested at 15 years.
People my age are making big decisions about our lives.
And hello from a proud Texas Democrat.
I want to begin by aligning both of your perspectives with this organization and talk about Gen Z. So when you look on the horizon line and you look at the direction we're going in and you look at AI's role in society, what do you think the world looks like that young people are going to be living in 10 or 15 years? And what can they do to affect that trajectory?
I mean, I think if you just look at it from the perspective of these kids, they live in an environment right now where it's hard to tell the difference between sort of like clean water and sewage, because it's all coming through in the same pipe, like right at them. in a lot of ways.
It's really appetizing.
I know. But I thought my metaphors were dark. but I think that's the situation that we sort of live in. And I think that like what Gary's saying is true on the generative AI front of just like you're just being bombarded with this type of information, but their entire media ecosystem, just look at the bigger picture, is sort of like this mixture of water and sewage, and trying to like sort it out for them. It's not unsurprising that they're bummed out, that they're confused, like that they're getting to silos, that they're figuring out all these things, because they're also trying to navigate this meta picture that we sort of live in.
What do you bring to this organization personally, and what would you like this organization to bring to you? Nicki, do you want to go next?
Sure, Steve. So my name is Nicki Reisberg. I run a podcast called Scrolling to Death. So I'm reaching over 1 million people on Instagram every week with news about, state lawsuits against social media companies, or yesterday's deeply disturbing report about Roblox being like a pedophile hellscape for kids. So parents are making changes in their home based off of the news that they're hearing. And so that's what I can offer members, is this community, and community that's ready to take action and make changes.
The ability for advertisers to get a message to us, and for us to feel validated by one source like a Walter Cronkite of what may or may not be true or provable. I just wonder if we're ever going to see an economic model that rewards truth. Because back in the day, CBS News lost money.
The concept misinformation comes across to me as a collective hallucination by the people who used to have a monopoly on the distribution of information in previous eras.
I think one of the things that really struck us was that nobody was proposing alternative platforms.
Data is heartbreaking. Rising self-harm, plummeting self-esteem, a generation struggling to separate fact from fiction. But Generation Z isn't waiting for solutions, they're demanding them. What if instead of building for them, we built with them?